The music was too loud, the bass vibrating through the floor of Eclipse, Chicago's most exclusive nightclub. But Jade Carter barely noticed. Her eyes were locked on the man across the room, Marcus, her ex-boyfriend, with his arm draped possessively around a blonde who couldn't have been older than 22. 3 months. It had been 3 months since Jade finally found the courage to leave, since she'd blocked his number and moved into a cramped studio apartment on the south side. 3 months of rebuilding her life, piece by piece, only to run into him here, tonight, at her coworker's birthday celebration. "Don't look at him," Sienna said, appearing at Jade's elbow with 2 mojitos. "He's not worth it." "I'm not looking." But she was. She couldn't help it. Marcus had that effect on her even now, even after everything. Marcus glanced up, and their eyes met across the crowded dance floor. His mouth curved into that familiar smirk, the one that said he'd won something. Then he pulled the blonde closer and kissed her, deliberately, making sure Jade saw every second of it. Her chest tightened. Not with jealousy, she didn't want him back. Never wanted him back. But with humiliation. With the burning knowledge that he was doing this on purpose, proving some twisted point about how easily he'd moved on while she was still picking up the pieces. "That's it." Sienna grabbed Jade's hand. "We're leaving." "No." The word came out harder than Jade intended. "I'm not running from him anymore." If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. I spent 2 years walking on eggshells, 2 years making myself smaller so he could feel bigger. I'm done. Then what do you want to do? Jade's eyes swept the club, looking for something, anything that would wipe that smug expression off Marcus's face. That's when she saw him. He stood near the VIP section, surrounded by men in dark suits who clearly worked for him. But it wasn't his security detail that caught her attention, it was him. Tall, maybe 6'3", with dark hair, styled back from a face that could have been carved from marble. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her car, and even from across the room, she could feel the weight of his presence. Everyone around him seemed to maintain a careful distance, like they knew instinctively not to get too close. Dangerous. He looked dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with physical size and everything to do with power. "Dance with me," Jade whispered to Sienna, her eyes still on the stranger. "He'll get jealous." "Who, Marcus?" "Jade, that's not with you." Jade's mind was racing, forming a plan that was probably insane. "I need you to introduce me to that man." She nodded toward the VIP section. Sienna followed her gaze and went pale. "Are you out of your mind?" "That's Jade. You don't want to go near him." "Why not?" "Because that's Dante Moretti." Sienna's voice dropped to an urgent whisper. "As in the Moretti family. As in people don't mess with him unless they have a death wish." "Perfect." Jade's pulse quickened. If she wanted to make Marcus feel as small and insignificant as he'd made her feel for 2 years, dancing with Chicago's most dangerous man would do it. "I don't need an introduction," Jade said, already moving. "I just need 30 seconds of his time." "Jade, wait." But she was already walking, her heels clicking against the polished floor as she made her way through the crowd. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she kept her chin up, her stride confident. Fake it until you make it. That's what her therapist always said. The security guards noticed her approach immediately. 2 of them stepped forward, forming a human wall between her and Dante Moretti. "Private section, miss," the larger one said. His voice was polite but firm. "I just need 1 minute." Jade looked past them, directly at Dante. "Please." Dante Moretti had been in the middle of a conversation, but something made him glance up. His eyes dark, almost black in the club's dim, lighting locked onto hers. For a moment nothing else existed. Not the music, not Marcus watching from across the room, not even her own fear. He assessed her in about 2 seconds. The desperation barely hidden behind her bravado, the way her hands trembled slightly despite her confident posture, the determination in her eyes that said she was either very brave or very stupid. He raised 1 hand. A simple gesture. His guard stepped aside immediately. Jade walked forward on shaking legs, stopping a few feet away from where he sat on a leather banquette. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Not just handsome, beautiful in the way a predator was beautiful. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, and those eyes that seemed to see straight through every defense she'd carefully constructed. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she started, and her voice came out steadier than she felt. "But I need a favor." One of his eyebrows rose slightly. "A favor. My ex-boyfriend is here." The words tumbled out before she could second-guess herself. "He's trying to make me jealous, and I I just need him to back off. If he sees me with someone like you, someone he can't intimidate or compete with, he'll finally leave me alone." Dante tilted his head slightly, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Someone like me. Powerful. Untouchable." Jade forced herself to hold his gaze. The kind of man who makes other men remember their place. A flicker of something amusement maybe crossed his features. "And what makes you think I'd help you?" "Because..." She searched for an answer that wouldn't sound completely insane. "Because I'm asking, and because it'll only take 5 minutes. One dance. That's all I need." The men flanking Dante exchanged glances. One of them, silver-haired with a scar across his cheek, leaned in and murmured something in what sounded like Italian. Dante's expression didn't change, but he raised a hand again, silencing his associate. "What's your name?" he asked. "Jade. Jade Carter." "Well, Jade Carter." Dante stood in one fluid motion, and suddenly he was close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. "You're either very brave or very foolish to approach me like this." "Probably both." A nervous laugh escaped her. "But I'm desperate. Desperation makes people do interesting things." He held out his hand. "One dance. But afterward, you leave and forget you ever spoke to me." Relief flooded through her. "Yes, thank you. And," he interrupted, his voice dropping lower, "you understand that one dance with me will have consequences you can't anticipate." The warning should have scared her, should have sent her running back to Sienna, back to safety, back to being invisible. But Jade was so tired of being scared, so tired of letting Marcus control her life even from a distance. She placed her hand in Dante's, his fingers closed around hers, warm, strong, steady. "I understand." He led her onto the dance floor, and the crowd parted for them like water around a stone. Jade caught a glimpse of Marcus's face as they passed. His smirk had vanished, replaced by shock and something that looked almost like fear. Good. Let him be afraid for once. The song changed to something slower, more sensual. Dante pulled her close, one hand settling on her waist, the other still holding hers. They were pressed together in a way that was almost intimate, and Jade had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "Your ex-boyfriend," Dante said, his voice low enough that only she could hear over the music. "Is he watching?" Jade didn't need to look. She could feel Marcus's stare burning into her back. "Yes." "Good." Dante's hand slid lower on her waist, possessive and deliberate. "Then let's make sure he gets the message." They moved together, and despite the circumstances, despite the fear still humming under her skin, Jade found herself relaxing into his lead. He was an excellent dancer, confident, controlled, reading her body's responses and adjusting accordingly. "Thank you," she whispered after a moment, "for doing this." "You haven't thanked me yet." His dark eyes held hers. "You don't know what you've just done." Before she could ask what he meant, someone grabbed her arm and yanked her backward. Jade stumbled, her hand ripping free from Dante's grip, and then Marcus was there, his face red with fury. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he snarled, his fingers digging into her arm hard enough to bruise. "Let go of me." Jade tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. This was Marcus at his worst, the side of him she'd learned to fear, the side that came out when he felt threatened or embarrassed. "You think you can humiliate me?" Dancing with some... The rest of Marcus's sentence died as Dante's hand closed around his wrist. Not violently, not even forcefully, just a simple grip that made Marcus freeze mid-word. She said, "Let go." Dante's voice was conversational, almost pleasant, but something in his tone made every nearby conversation stop. Marcus released Jade's arm immediately, but anger still blazed in his eyes. "Who the hell are you?" "The man you just made a very serious mistake with." Dante didn't release Marcus's wrist. "I suggest you walk away. Now. This is between me and my girlfriend." "Ex-girlfriend," Jade corrected, rubbing her arm where Marcus had grabbed her. "We broke up 3 months ago. She's not your anything." Dante's eyes were cold now, empty of any warmth or amusement. "And you're going to apologize to her for putting your hands on her without permission." Marcus laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Or what? You think you can intimidate me with your bodyguards and expensive suit? I know people too, friend. Important people." The silver-haired man from earlier appeared at Dante's shoulder, along with 2 others. They weren't doing anything threatening. They were just there, but their presence shifted the entire atmosphere of the confrontation. "Let him go, boss," the silver-haired man said quietly. "He's not worth the trouble." But Dante didn't let go. He leaned closer to Marcus, his voice dropping so low that Jade barely heard him. "I know exactly who you are, Marcus Reed. I know where you work, where you live, what car you drive. I know about the gambling debt you're hiding from your father. And I know that if you ever touch Jade Carter again, if you even look at her wrong, you'll learn exactly how important your connections really are." Marcus's face went from red to white in seconds. Fear, real, genuine fear, replaced the anger in his eyes. "Understand?" Dante asked pleasantly. Marcus nodded once, jerky and desperate. The moment Dante released his wrist, he stumbled backward, nearly falling. Then he turned and practically ran through the crowd toward the exit, the blonde forgotten. Silence hung heavy over their section of the dance floor. People were staring, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed fear. Jade's hands were shaking again, but this time from adrenaline rather than nerves. "I'm sorry," she breathed. "I didn't mean for I didn't think he'd—" "Yes, you did." Dante turned to face her fully. "You knew exactly what bringing me into this would do. You chose the most dangerous person in the room, and bet that I'd do exactly what I did. I just wanted him to leave me alone. And now he will." His expression was unreadable. "But you've also drawn attention to yourself, my attention, and that comes with consequences." The silver-haired man cleared his throat. "Boss, we should go. This scene is attracting too much interest." Dante nodded, then looked back at Jade. "Come with me." "What?" "No, I should find my friend. I should go home. Your friend is being escorted out by club security as we speak, along with everyone else who witnessed this." His tone left no room for argument. "You wanted my help. Now you have it, which means you're coming with me until I understand exactly what kind of situation I've just inserted myself into." Fear and something else, something that felt dangerously like excitement, warred in Jade's chest. "I don't even know you. You knew enough to use me." He started walking toward a private exit, his men forming a protective circle. "Now you'll know enough to answer my questions." Jade looked around frantically for Sienna, but her friend was nowhere to be seen. The club was emptying quickly, security guards ushering people toward the exits. Dante's people must have called ahead, clearing the space. She had two choices: refuse and try to leave on her own, or follow this dangerous stranger who'd just defended her with a level of intimidation that still made her knees weak. Jade thought about Marcus's face, the terror in his eyes when Dante mentioned his gambling debt and personal information. This man Dante Moretti didn't just have power. He had the kind of power that made problems disappear, that made people disappear. She should run. Every rational thought in her head screamed at her to run. Instead, she followed. The private exit led to an alley behind the club, where a black SUV waited, engine running. Dante's men moved with practiced efficiency. One opened the door, two scanned the surrounding area. The silver-haired man stayed close to Dante. "Get in," Dante said, not looking at her. Jade hesitated at the open door. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere we can talk privately." He finally met her eyes. "I promise you won't be harmed. But I need to understand who you are and why your ex-boyfriend recognized my face." "What do you mean?" "He knew who I was." Dante's jaw tightened fractionally. "Not everyone does. Which means either he's involved with people who are, or he's stupider than he looks, and was making threats he couldn't back up." Jade's mind raced back to Marcus's words. "I know people too. Important people." At the time, she'd assumed he was bluffing, trying to sound tough. But what if he wasn't? "I don't know anything about his connections," she said honestly. "We broke up 3 months ago. He was controlling and jealous, but I never knew him to be involved with." She stopped, not sure how to finish that sentence. "With people like me?" Not quite a smile. "Get in the car, Jade Carter. If you're telling the truth, you have nothing to fear. If you're not—" He left the threat unspoken. Jade climbed into the SUV, her heart hammering. Dante slid in beside her, the silver-haired man taking the front passenger seat. The door closed with a heavy thunk that sounded entirely too final. As the vehicle pulled away from Eclipse, Jade caught one last glimpse of the club's neon sign through the tinted window. She'd walked into that building tonight thinking she'd just make her ex-boyfriend jealous, prove she'd moved on. She hadn't realized she was about to step into a completely different world, one she might not be able to walk away from. The SUV wound through Chicago's downtown streets in silence. Jade pressed herself against the far door, hyper-aware of Dante's presence beside her. He'd pulled out his phone and was reading something, his expression carved from stone. "Boss." The the silver-haired man said from the front seat. Marco confirmed Reed left the club alone. No tail, no backup. Looks like he really was operating on his own. And the Carter woman's friend? Sienna Martinez, clean record, works in marketing. We sent her home in one of our cars with instructions to keep quiet about tonight. Jade's head snapped up. Is Sienna okay? You didn't... She's fine. Dante didn't look up from his phone. Probably scared, but fine. One of my people will make sure she gets home safely, and that she understands discretion is important. You're having her followed? I'm making sure everyone who saw what happened tonight understands that talking about it would be unwise. He finally looked at her. Including you. The casual way he said it sent chills down her spine. I'm not going to tell anyone. I just wanted Marcus gone. That's it. That's it, he repeated, something dark flickering in his eyes. You walked up to a complete stranger, asked him to intimidate your ex-boyfriend, and now you're surprised that stranger has questions about your intentions. Dante studied her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. Not much, just a slight curve of his mouth, but it transformed his entire face, made him look less like a predator and more like a man. You're the woman who walked through a nightclub full of witnesses, approached the most dangerous person there, and asked him to dance. That's not nobody behavior. That's desperate behavior. Jade wrapped her arms around herself. Marcus spent 2 years making me feel small, worthless, like I didn't matter to anyone. Tonight was supposed to be my night, my coworker's birthday, my first time going out in months without looking over my shoulder. And then, he was there with that smile, and her voice cracked. I snapped. I wanted him to feel small for once, to know what it's like to be powerless. The silver-haired man glanced back at her. Well, you succeeded. Reed looked like he was going to pass out. Good. Jade's hands clenched into fists. He deserves to be scared. Why? Dante asked quietly. Because he made me scared for 2 years. Every time I disagreed with him, every time I wanted to see friends, every time I didn't text back fast enough, he'd say I was overreacting, that I was too sensitive, that he was just worried about me. The words were pouring out now, things she'd only told her therapist. He isolated me from everyone who cared about me, made me think I was crazy for being unhappy, and when I finally left, he started stalking me, showing up at my apartment building, texting from different numbers. My therapist calls it stalking, but the police said they couldn't do anything unless he threatened me directly. The SUV turned onto a quieter street. Jade watched the city lights blur past the tinted windows, wondering distantly where they were going, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life by getting into this car. How long has this been going on? Dante asked. 3 months since I left. But the controlling stuff? That started maybe 6 months into our relationship. I just didn't recognize it at first. She looked at him. Why do you care? Because Marcus Reed recognized my name and still thought he could grab you in front of me. Dante's expression hardened, which means either he's incredibly stupid, or he thinks he has protection from someone who matters. I told you. I don't know anything about that. I believe you. He put his phone away. But I need to make sure he's not connected to anything that will become my problem later. The SUV pulled through a gate that Jade hadn't even seen until they were past it. On the other side was a circular driveway leading to a modern glass and steel building that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. Where are we? Jade asked, her mouth dry. My building. Dante opened his door. We'll talk inside. The silver-haired man got out and opened Jade's door, offering his hand. She took it automatically, her legs unsteady as she climbed out. Miss Carter, I'm Carlo, he said with a slight smile. I've been with the Moretti family for 20 years. You're safe here. Safe? Jade repeated hollowly. I'm in a stranger's building after midnight because I asked a Mafia boss to make my ex-boyfriend jealous. I don't think safe is the word I'd use. Carlo's smile widened. Fair point. But for what it's worth, if the boss wanted to hurt you, you wouldn't be standing here having this conversation. That was supposed to be reassuring. It wasn't. The building's lobby was all polished marble and modern art, empty except for a security guard who nodded, as respectfully as they passed. Dante led them to a private elevator that required a key card. They rode up in silence, Jade's reflection staring back at her from the mirrored walls. She looked terrified. Her eyes were too wide, her face pale beneath her makeup. The confident woman who'd marched across Eclipse's dance floor was gone, replaced by someone who was beginning to realize the enormity of what she'd done. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse apartment that took Jade's breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Chicago's skyline. The furniture was minimal but obviously expensive, clean lines, leather and wood, everything positioned with careful precision. "Sit," Dante said, gesturing to a sleek gray couch. "Would you like something to drink?" "Vodka," Jade said immediately, then caught herself. "I mean, water's fine. Vodka it is." He moved to a bar cart and poured 2 glasses, adding ice to both. When he handed her one, their fingers brushed. "You've had a difficult night." Jade took a long drink, the vodka burning down her throat. "That's one way to put it." Dante sat in the chair across from her, his posture relaxed but his eyes alert. Carlo stood near the door, hands clasped in front of him, watching and waiting. "Tell me about Marcus Reed," Dante said. "Everything you know." So she did. Jade told him about meeting Marcus at a friend's wedding 2 years ago, how charming he'd been at first, how he worked in finance, came from money, had all the right connections, how slowly, insidiously, he'd started controlling her life. "I thought it meant he loved me," Jade said, her voice bitter, "that he was just passionate and concerned. My friends tried to warn me, but I pushed them away because Marcus said they were jealous of what we had." "Classic isolation tactics," Dante murmured. "After I left, he tried everything to get me back. Flowers, apologies, promises to change. When that didn't work, the stalking started. Following me, showing up places I'd be. He never did anything illegal, just made sure I knew he was watching." "And tonight?" "Tonight was the first time I've gone out in months. I've been too scared to live my life because I'm always worried I'll run into him." She laughed, a sharp, broken sound. "And look how that turned out." Dante leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "You asked me to help you. I did. Now Marcus Reed thinks you're under my protection. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drag you into my mess. I'm not looking for an apology." His dark eyes held hers. "I'm telling you that as far as Marcus and anyone he might talk to is concerned, you are under my protection now. Which means you can't just walk away and pretend tonight didn't happen." Jade's chest tightened. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dante said carefully, "that you've associated yourself with me in a very public way. People saw us together. They saw me defend you. In my world, that sends a specific message. That I'm what? Your girlfriend? That you're mine." He said it simply, like it was a statement of fact. "And anything that's mine is protected absolutely." The possessiveness in his words should have terrified her, should have sent her running for the door. But there was something else in his voice, not ownership, but responsibility. Like he'd taken on a duty he couldn't walk away from. "I don't understand," Jade whispered. "I know you don't." Dante stood, moving to the windows. The city sprawled below them, endless lights in the darkness. "Let me explain how my world works. When I threaten someone publicly, when I claim someone as mine, that's a statement. It tells everyone watching that person is untouchable, that anyone who harms them answers to me. But I'm not yours. We just met. Doesn't matter." He turned to face her. "Perception is reality in my business. And right now, everyone who is in that club perceives you as mine, which means you have a target on your back." Jade's blood ran cold. "A target? From who?" "From anyone who wants to hurt me." Dante's expression was grave. "I have enemies, Jade. People who would love nothing more than to find a weakness, a vulnerability they could exploit. You just became that vulnerability." "Oh my God." Jade stood, her legs shaking. I never thought. Of course you didn't." He moved closer but didn't touch her. "You were focused on Marcus. You couldn't have known what asking for my help would mean. So what happens now?" Her voice came out small, frightened. "Do I just go home and hope nobody tries to kill me to get to you?" "No." Dante's jaw was set. "You stay here, under my protection, until I can assess the situation and neutralize any threats. Stay here? In your apartment? In this building. I own the entire structure. You'll have your own unit, your own space. But you'll have security at all times, and you'll follow the protocols my people establish." Jade shook her head. "This is insane. I can't just move in with near you. I have a life, a job. You work from home as a graphic designer. You can do that anywhere." The fact that he already knew this should have surprised her. "It didn't, and your life, as you called it, involved hiding from Marcus Reed. At least here you'll be safe." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." "And if I say no?" Jade challenged. "If I just walk out of here and go back to my apartment?" Dante's expression softened fractionally. Then I'll have someone watching your building 24/7 anyway. Because despite what you might think, I don't abandon people I've claimed to protect, even if they didn't ask for it properly. This is insane, Jade repeated, but her protest felt weak. Because he was right, she had associated herself with him, had used his reputation, his power, his very presence to intimidate Marcus. And now she was dealing with the consequences. Yes, it is, Dante agreed. But it's the reality you're in now. So the question is, do you want to face it alone in a studio apartment with inadequate locks? Or here, where you have resources and protection? When he put it that way, there wasn't really a choice. How long? She asked again. A week. Maybe 2. Dante moved back to the bar cart, pouring himself another drink. Long enough for me to send a clear message that you're not to be touched. Long enough for Marcus Reed to understand that any retaliation would be the last mistake he ever makes. You'd really kill him? The question came out before Jade could stop it. Dante took a slow sip of his vodka, considering, if he touches you again, without hesitation. If he's smart enough to stay away? He shrugged. Then he lives with the knowledge that he's beneath my notice. The casual way he discussed murder should have horrified her. Instead, Jade felt a strange sense of relief. For 2 years, Marcus had made her feel powerless. He'd used his money, his connections, his charm to make her feel like she had no options, no way out. Now she had the most dangerous man in Chicago promising that Marcus would never hurt her again. Okay, she said quietly. I'll stay. Dante's shoulders relaxed slightly, a tension she hadn't even noticed releasing. Carlo will show you to your apartment. It's 3 floors down, fully furnished. Anything you need from your place, we'll have it brought here tomorrow. Just like that? Just like that. He set down his glass. Welcome to your new life, Jade Carter. Try not to make any more impulsive decisions for a while. Despite everything. She almost smiled. I'll do my best. Carlo led her back to the elevator, pressing the button for the 32nd floor. Boss is right, you know, he said as they descended. You're safer here than anywhere else in the city. That's what scares me, Jade admitted, that I need to be safe from anything at all. The apartment Carlo showed her to was stunning, easily 3 times the size of her studio, with a full kitchen, living room with floor-to-ceiling windows, and a bedroom with a king-size bed. Security protocols are simple, Carlo explained, handing her a key card. This gets you into the building, the elevator, and your apartment. Don't go anywhere without letting us know. Don't open the door for anyone you don't recognize. And if you need anything at all, press 9 on the phone. Someone will respond immediately. Am I a prisoner? Jade asked. You're protected. Carlo's expression was kind. There's a difference. You can leave if you want. But we'd prefer to know where you're going so we can make sure you arrive safely. After he left, Jade stood in the middle of the pristine living room, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 3 hours. She'd gone to a club to celebrate a coworker's birthday. She'd seen her abusive ex with another woman. And she'd made the split-second decision to approach a stranger who turned out to be exactly the wrong or exactly the right person to ask for help. Now she was standing in a luxury apartment, under the protection of a Mafia boss, with a target on her back she hadn't even known existed until 30 minutes ago. Her phone buzzed. Sienna. Oh my God, are you okay? These men drove me home and told me not to talk about what happened, and I've been freaking out. Where are you? Are you safe? Jade sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. I'm safe, I think. It's complicated. Jade, that man Dante Moretti, he's not someone you want to be involved with. I know what he is, Jade interrupted. And I didn't have much choice. Marcus grabbed me, Dante defended me, and now I'm staying in one of his buildings for a while, until things calm down. Silence on the other end. Then, staying with him? Jade, are you insane? Probably. Jade laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. But Sienna, for the first time in 3 months, I'm not scared of Marcus. And what does Dante want in return? That was the question, wasn't it? What did he want? I don't know, Jade admitted. But I guess I'm going to find out. She hung up with Sienna after promising to check in daily, then explored the apartment more thoroughly. The bathroom had high-end toiletries still in their packaging. The refrigerator was stocked with basics. Someone had prepared this space for her, which meant Dante had been planning to bring her here even before she agreed to stay. That should have bothered her more than it did. Jade showered, washing away the club smell, then found a t-shirt in one of the drawers and pulled it on. She stood at the windows, looking out at the same view Dante had from his penthouse, just from a different angle. The city looked peaceful from up here. Beautiful. You couldn't see the danger, the violence, the fear that lived in the streets below. You just saw lights, endless, glittering lights that made everything look magical. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Sleep well, Jade. We'll talk more tomorrow. D. She stared at the message, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. Then she typed back, "Thank you. For everything." The response came immediately. "Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen what this life costs." Jade climbed into the enormous bed, still in the t-shirt, and pulled the covers up to her chin. The sheets were Egyptian cotton, so soft they felt like water against her skin. She should have been terrified. Should have been planning her escape, calling the police, doing anything except accepting this new reality. Instead, for the first time in 3 months, she felt safe. And that was the most terrifying thing of all. The next morning, Jade woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to cover. For a disorienting moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it all came rushing back: the club, Marcus, Dante, the promise of protection that felt more like a cage. Her phone showed 8:30, a reasonable hour, except she had no idea what she was supposed to do now. A knock on the door made the decision for her. Jade wrapped herself in the robe she'd found hanging in the bathroom and checked the peephole. Carlo stood in the hallway, holding a garment bag and what looked like coffee. "Morning, Miss Carter," he said cheerfully when she opened the door. "Boss thought you might need these." These turned out to be clothes jeans in her exact size, several shirts, a jacket, even undergarments that made her face heat, because it meant someone had estimated her measurements frighteningly accurately. "How did you—" "Boss is thorough," Carlo said, setting the coffee on the kitchen counter. "Your friend Sienna helped with some details." After Carlo left, Jade dressed in the new clothes, which fit perfectly, because of course they did, and drank the coffee, which was exactly how she liked it. 2 creams, 1 sugar. She was just finishing when her phone rang. "Dante." "Good morning." His voice was rough, like he'd just woken up. "I trust you slept well?" "Better than expected," Jade admitted. "Thank you for the clothes. And the coffee. You'll need to get used to being taken care of." He paused. "I'm sending a car for you in an hour. We need to discuss Marcus Reed and what I found out about his connections." "You investigated him? Already?" "I have people who work quickly." The edge in his voice suggested those people had methods she probably didn't want to know about. 1 hour. "Jade, be ready." He hung up before she could respond. When the knock came, it was a woman late 20s, with sleek black hair pulled into a ponytail and sharp eyes that assessed Jade in about 3 seconds. "Miss Carter, I'm Valentina. I'll be your primary security when you leave the building." "I need security to go upstairs?" Valentina's expression didn't change. "You need security to breathe until boss says otherwise. Let's go." The elevator opened directly into Dante's apartment. He stood at the windows, hands in his pockets, wearing dark jeans and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. "Thank you, Valentina," he said without turning around. "That will be all." Valentina left, and suddenly Jade was alone with him again. "Coffee?" Dante asked, finally turning to face her. "I already had some. That you sent." "Right." Something that might have been a smile touched his mouth. "Can't sleep. Too much quiet. I'm used to sirens and neighbors fighting through thin walls." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Mara asked, "Do you regret it? What happened to Lorenzo?" "I regret that it was necessary." Vittorio's voice was quiet. "But choices have consequences." Dante pulled out a tablet and brought up files, documents, photos, surveillance footage. Marcus Reed, 28 years old, works at Reed Financial Group, his father's company. On the surface, he's exactly what he appears to be. Trust fund kid playing at having a career. I could have told you that. But did you know his father, Thomas Reed, launders money for the Donovan family? Jade's blood went cold. Even she knew that name. The Donovans were one of Chicago's oldest crime families, smaller than the Morettis but still dangerous. Marcus never mentioned. I doubt he knows. Dante swiped to another screen. Thomas Reed is very careful to keep his legitimate business separate from his other activities. But the connection is there. Which means when Marcus recognized my name last night, he probably went running to Daddy, and Daddy probably made some calls. To who? To people asking why a Moretti was threatening a Reed. Dante's jaw tightened. I've already had 2 conversations this morning smoothing things over. making it clear you're under my protection, and Marcus stepped out of line. I'm sorry, Jade whispered. I didn't mean to cause problems. You didn't cause them. Marcus did by putting his hands on you. Dante set down the tablet. But you need to understand the position you're in now. Thomas Reed wants to know who you are, why you matter to me, whether you're worth the diplomatic headache of keeping his son away from you. What did you tell him? That you're mine. That his son stalked and harassed you for months. And that if it happens again, I'll consider it a personal insult from the Donovan family. The casual way he claimed her, even in a political negotiation, made Jade's chest tight. And he accepted that? He didn't have much choice. Dante's smile was cold. The Morettis are significantly more powerful than the Donovans. Thomas Reed knows better than to push back on something this small. I'm not small, Jade said before she could stop herself. Dante's gaze sharpened. No, you're not. You're a woman who survived 2 years of psychological abuse and still had the courage to fight back. That's not small at all. The unexpected compliment caught her off guard. Thank you. Don't thank me for stating facts. He moved to sit across from her. Here's what happens next. I'm putting out word through appropriate channels that you're under Moretti protection. Anyone who touches you answers to me. Marcus Reed will get a visit from some of my people, making that message very clear. His father will make sure he understands the consequences of violating that boundary. How will you make sure he understands? Dante's expression went flat, empty. Do you really want to know? Jade thought about it. About Marcus's face when Dante had mentioned his gambling debt. About the fear in his eyes. No, she said quietly. I don't. Good instinct. Dante stood. You'll stay here in the building for the next week. After that, we'll reassess. Carlo will set up a workspace in your apartment so you can work. Valentina and her team will accompany you if you need to go anywhere. And you'll check in with me daily. Daily? Daily, he confirmed. I need to know you're safe, that nothing has changed, that Marcus hasn't found a way around my protection. It was comprehensive, thorough, and completely controlling, just like Marcus had been, except somehow this felt different. Dante wasn't trying to isolate her or make her dependent. He was trying to keep her alive. What if I want to leave? Jade asked. Not the building, Chicago. What if I want to just disappear, start over somewhere else? Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then I'd help you do that safely. New identity, new city, enough money to start fresh. But you'd have to stay disappeared. No contact with old friends, no social media, nothing that could be traced back. That's not much of a life. No, he agreed. It's not. So my choices are stay here under your protection, or give up everything I know and run. Or we solve the problem. Dante moved closer, his dark eyes intense. We make it so clear that you're untouchable that Marcus and his father and the entire Donovan family understand hurting you isn't worth the consequences. Then you go back to your life. Can you do that? Yes. His confidence was absolute, but it takes time. And during that time, you're vulnerable, which is why you stay close. Jade stood, suddenly needing to move. This wasn't supposed to happen. I just wanted one night where I felt powerful instead of scared. And now you're learning what power actually costs. Dante's voice softened fractionally. I'm sorry you're in this position, Jade, but I promise you, I will keep you safe. Why? The question burst out of her. Why do you even care? You don't know me. I used you, manipulated you into helping me. Why not just let me deal with the consequences? Dante was quiet, studying her face. Finally, he said, because I know what it's like to feel powerless, to be controlled by someone stronger, smarter, more dangerous than you. My father ruled through fear, through making everyone around him feel small and weak and worthless. Jade's breath caught. He abused you. He taught me. There's a difference, but not much of one. Dante, and moved to the windows, his back to her. When you walked up to me last night, desperate and brave and terrified, you reminded me of myself at 17, asking for help from someone dangerous because you had no other options. What happened when you were 17? I asked my uncle for protection from my father. He gave it, and then he taught me to be dangerous enough that I'd never need to ask anyone for help again. Dante turned back to her. You asked for my protection. I gave it, and now I'll make sure you never need to ask anyone again. The parallel was clear, heartbreaking. Dante had been where she was powerless, scared, dependent on someone else's mercy, and he'd sworn never to let anyone else feel that way if he could prevent it. I don't want to be dangerous, Jade said softly. You don't have to be. His smile was slight, genuine. You just have to be free, and I'll make sure you get there." For the next few days, Jade settled into a rhythm that felt both surreal and strangely normal. She worked from her apartment. Carlo had set up a full office with dual monitors, ergonomic chair, and better equipment than she'd owned before. But everything else was different. Valentina accompanied her everywhere. To the building's gym, to the rooftop garden where Dante grew herbs and vegetables, to the corner bodega 3 blocks away when Jade insisted she needed a specific snack. "You could just tell them what you want," Valentina pointed out. "I need to feel normal," Jade argued. "Just for 10 minutes. The bodega owner, an elderly Korean woman named Mrs. Kim, knew exactly who Jade was the moment she walked in. "Moretti girl, Mrs. Kim said, smiling warmly. "Welcome, welcome." Jade found the chips she wanted and brought them to the counter. "Mrs. Kim waved away her money. No. Moretti protection means family. Family doesn't pay." Walking back, Jade was quiet. "Does everyone know?" she asked Valentina. "Everyone who matters." Valentina's scan of the street never stopped. Boss made sure word spread quickly. "You're safe in this neighborhood, Miss Carter. No one would dare touch you. Safe because people were afraid of Dante. Safe because she wore his protection like armor." Instead, it felt like the first time in months she could breathe without looking over her shoulder. That evening, Dante called her up to his penthouse for dinner. He had cooked pasta carbonara, garlic bread, a salad with vegetables from his rooftop garden. "You cook," Jade said, surprised. "I find it meditative." He plated the pasta with restaurant-quality presentation. "My mother taught me before she died. It's one of the few good memories I have of her." They ate at his dining table, the city lights providing a backdrop that felt almost romantic. Except this wasn't a date. This was 2 people trapped in circumstance, trying to figure out how to coexist. "How long were you married?" Jade asked, then immediately regretted it. "Sorry, I wasn't." Dante's expression didn't change. "I don't do relationships. Too messy. Too many vulnerabilities. No one? Brief associations. Arrangements that benefit both parties. Nothing permanent." He took a sip of wine. "What about you? Before Marcus?" Jade thought back to college boyfriends. Short relationships that had fizzled. Nothing serious. "I always thought I had time, you know? That I'd figure out the career stuff first, then worry about finding someone. And then Marcus happened." She agreed. 2 years of my life I'll never get back." "You survived them." Dante met her eyes. "That counts for more than you think." They talked through dinner about her work, his legitimate businesses, about Chicago, about the neighborhood she'd lived in before. Small talk that felt bigger because of who they were, what situation had brought them together. Jade helped him clean up, despite his protests. It felt important to do something normal, something that wasn't about protection, or danger, or the strange new world she'd stumbled into. "Carlo tells me you've been going to the rooftop garden," Dante said, drying a plate she'd washed. "It's peaceful up there. I like watching your plants grow. You can pick whatever you want. Use them for cooking. I don't cook much. Then maybe I'll teach you." The offer came out casual, but something in his tone made it feel significant. "If you're going to be here for a while, might as well learn something useful." Jade smiled. "Is that what you do? Collect strays and teach them life skills?" "Just the interesting ones." His gaze held hers a moment too long, and something electric passed between them. Not romance, not yet, but recognition, understanding. That night, back in her apartment, Jade stood at the windows and looked up toward where she knew Dante's penthouse was. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Can't sleep?" She smiled, typing back. "Too much on my mind." "You?" "Same. Happens more than I'd like. Want to talk about it?" A long pause. Then, "Not tonight. But maybe sometime." "Okay. Good night, Dante." "Good night, Jade. Lock your door." "Already done." She climbed into bed, pulling the covers up, and realized something startling. She felt safe. Really, genuinely safe. Because somewhere 3 floors above her, Dante Moretti was awake, watching over his city, and she was part of what he protected. And for the first time in years, that was enough. 1 week into her new life, Jade woke to shouting. Not nearby, somewhere distant, muffled by walls and floors, but unmistakably angry. She grabbed her phone. 317 a.m. She crept to her door, pressing her ear against it. Nothing. Then her phone buzzed. "Dante. Stay in your apartment. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except Carlo." Her fingers shook as she typed back. What's happening? Handling it. Stay put. Jade locked her door, then pushed her bookshelf against it for good measure. Her heart hammered as she backed away, grabbing the heaviest object she could find, a marble bookend, and positioned herself where she could see both the door and the windows. 30 minutes crawled by. 45. She was just starting to breathe normally when a knock came. Miss Carter, it's Carlo. She recognized his voice, but checked the peephole anyway. Carlo stood there, looking tired but unharmed. She moved the bookshelf and opened the door. What happened? Someone tried to breach building security. Carlo's expression was grim. Got past the first checkpoint before we stopped them. Jade's mouth went dry. Marcus? No, but sent by someone connected to him. Carlo stepped inside, scanning the apartment. Boss wants you upstairs. Now. Dante's penthouse was full of people when she arrived. Men in suits speaking in low voices, security footage playing on multiple screens, and Dante at the center of it all. His face a mask of controlled fury. He saw her immediately. Everyone out, now. The room cleared in seconds, leaving just Dante, Carlo, and Jade. Tell her, Dante said to Carlo. At 2:45 a.m., a man identifying himself as building maintenance entered through the service entrance. He had credentials, good ones, professionally forged. Made it to the 32nd floor before our patrol caught him. Jade's floor, her apartment. He had a keycard to your unit, Carlo continued. Not a copy, an original, with proper encoding. Someone with access to our security system provided it. You have a mole, Jade breathed. Had, Dante corrected, his voice ice. We found him 20 minutes ago. He's being dealt with. The casual way he said it made Jade's stomach turn. Dealt with how? You don't want to know. Dante moved to the bar cart, poured 3 glasses of whiskey, handed one to her. Drink. You're shaking. She was. Jade took the glass and downed half of it, the burn grounding her. Who sent him? Marcus? Thomas Reed. Dante's jaw clenched. Marcus's father. Apparently our diplomatic agreement wasn't sufficient. He decided to test my resolve by sending someone to my apartment to take you. Dante's eyes were black with rage. The man we caught had zip ties, a gag, and sedatives. This wasn't surveillance. This was a kidnapping. The room tilted. Jade sat heavily on the couch. Why? What would taking me accomplish? Leverage against me. Proof that Moretti protection isn't absolute. A message to everyone watching that I'm weak. Dante downed his whiskey in one swallow. Thomas Reed made a catastrophic error in judgment. What are you going to do? End this. The finality in his voice was terrifying. Permanently. Carlo cleared his throat. Boss, if we move against Reed directly, the Donovans will have to respond. Could start a war. Let it. Dante's expression was carved from stone. Thomas Reed came into my building, corrupted my people, and tried to take what's mine. There are consequences for that. Dante, wait. Jade stood, her legs still unsteady. Don't start a war over me, please. I'm not worth. Don't. His voice cracked like a whip. Don't finish that sentence. He crossed to her in 3 strides, his hands gripping her shoulders. Not hard, not controlling, anchoring. You are worth it. Do you understand? Someone tried to take you tonight, tried to hurt me, and I will not let that stand. But a war is something I'm prepared for. His dark eyes burned into hers. You think I'm afraid of the Donovans? Of Thomas Reed? They're nothing compared to what I've survived. Jade's breath caught. This close, she could see the scar through his eyebrow, the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the barely leashed violence in every line of his body. He was terrifying and magnetic, and the only person in the world she trusted to keep her safe. I don't want you hurt because of me, she whispered. Then stay alive. His grip softened. Stay safe. Let me handle this. That's all I need from you. Carlo's phone buzzed. He checked. His expression darkening. Boss, we have a problem. What now? Marcus Reed is downstairs, at the main entrance, demanding to see Miss Carter. Everything stopped. Dante's hands fell from Jade's shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was deadly calm. He's here, in my building. Security has him contained in the lobby. But he's making a scene, threatening to call the police, lawyers, claiming Miss Carter is being held against her will. Let him call. Dante's smile was sharp and cruel. I'd love to explain to Chicago PD why Marcus Reed is harassing a woman under protective custody. Dante, Jade said quietly. Let me talk to him. Both men turned to stare at her. Absolutely not, Dante said. He's here for me. He wants to see that I'm okay. Or more likely, he wants to prove I'm not. Jade's mind was racing. So let him see me. Let him see that I'm fine, that I'm choosing to be here, and that his father's plan failed. It's too dangerous. You'll be right there. Carlo, Valentina, a dozen guards. Marcus can't hurt me with that many witnesses. She stepped closer to Dante. But if I hide, if I don't face him, he wins. He gets to tell himself I'm too scared to see him. That you're controlling me like he did. Dante studied her face, and she saw the moment he understood. This wasn't about safety anymore, it was about Jade reclaiming her power. 5 minutes, he said finally. In the lobby, with full security. He touches you, looks at you wrong, even breathes in a way I don't like, and I end him. Understood? Understood. The lobby was a study in controlled chaos. Marcus stood near the security desk, disheveled and frantic. He wore wrinkled khakis and a dress shirt, like he'd thrown on clothes and rushed over. His eyes were wild, desperate. When the elevator opened and Jade stepped out, flanked by Dante on one side and Valentina on the other, with Carlo and 4 more guards forming a perimeter, Marcus's expression cycled through shock, relief, and rage in rapid succession. Jade, thank God. He started forward, but the guards blocked him. Are you okay? Has he hurt you? Your father sent someone to kidnap me tonight. Jade interrupted, her voice steady. So whatever he told you is a lie. Marcus froze. What? No, he said. He said you were being held hostage, that this man was controlling you. Does she look like a prisoner? Dante's voice was dangerously soft. Marcus finally looked at her, really looked. Jade stood in comfortable clothes, her hair in a messy bun, clearly having been woken from sleep, but not restrained, not scared. Not the desperate woman from the club. You're staying here by choice? Marcus's voice cracked. With him? Yes. One word, but it contained everything. Her decision, her power, her freedom. But why? Jade, I loved you. I protected you. You controlled me. Jade stepped forward, and Dante's hand came to her back, supportive, not controlling. You isolated me from my friends. You monitored my phone. You made me feel crazy for having feelings or opinions that didn't match yours. That's not love, Marcus. That's abuse. I never hit you. You didn't have to. Her voice was rising now, months of therapy and anger and fear finally finding their outlet. You broke me down piece by piece until I didn't recognize myself, until I was so small and scared that I couldn't imagine life without you. That's worse than hitting me, Marcus, because at least bruises heal. Marcus's face twisted. And him? This criminal is better than me? He's honest about what he is. Jade's voice was firm. He doesn't pretend control is concern. He doesn't gaslight me into thinking I'm overreacting. When Dante says he's dangerous, he means it. You said you loved me, but you meant you owned me. There's a difference. You're insane. Marcus looked at Dante. What did you do to her? I gave her a choice. Dante's voice cut through Marcus's rambling. Something you never did. She can leave anytime she wants. Go anywhere, do anything. I'm not her cage, Reed. I'm her shield. Bullshit. You're using her. I'm protecting her from you. Dante stepped forward, and even with all his desperation, Marcus backed up. From your father, from the Donovan family. Because unlike you, I keep my promises. I told Jade she'd be safe, and she is. Marcus's eyes were wild now. My father won't let this go. He's already talking to the Donovans about what? Dante's smile was cold. Starting a war? Marcus, you're not important enough to die for. And your father is about to learn that. What does that mean? It means Thomas Reed made a choice tonight. He sent someone into my building to take what's mine. Now he faces the consequences. Dante's tone was conversational, but the threat was unmistakable. By morning, every business deal he has will disappear. Every connection he's made through the Donovans will be severed. His accounts will be frozen pending federal investigation into money laundering, and his reputation will be so thoroughly destroyed that the Donovan family will cut ties just to avoid association. Marcus's face went white. You can't. I already have. Dante pulled out his phone, showed Marcus the screen. Those are federal agents outside your father's house. Right now. How? I've been preparing for this since the moment you grabbed Jade at Eclipse. Dante pocketed his phone. I knew you were connected. I knew your father would eventually make a move. I've been waiting for him to give me justification. Tonight, he did. Marcus turned desperately to Jade. Please, You can't let him do this. By kidnapping me? Jade's laugh was bitter. That's protection? I didn't know. You never know, Marcus. You never think about consequences, about other people, about anything except what you want. Jade shook her head. I wasted 2 years on you. I'm not wasting another second. Go home. Tell your father this is what happens when you underestimate Dante, Moretti, and leave me alone. Jade. She said leave. Dante's voice dropped to lethal quiet. Security. Escort Mr. Reed out. If he returns, call the police and have him arrested for trespassing and harassment. 2 guards moved forward. Marcus tried to pull away, but their grips were iron. As they dragged him toward the exit, he shouted back, You'll regret this, both of you. The doors closed, cutting off his threats. Silence fell over the lobby. Jade realized she was shaking not with fear, but with adrenaline. She'd done it. She'd faced Marcus, told him exactly what she thought, and walked away. Breathe, Dante said softly. His hand was still on her back, steady and warm. You did well. I told him off. Jade's voice was shaky with disbelief. I actually told him off. You destroyed him. A hint of pride colored Dante's words. Did you see his face? He finally realized you're not his anymore. That you never were. Jade turned to look at Dante. Did you really do all that to his father? The federal agents? The business deals? Every word was true. Dante's expression was serious. Thomas Reed crossed a line. In my world, that has consequences. Will there be war? With the Donovans? No. He sounded certain. They're smart enough to cut their losses. Reed was a useful connection, nothing more. They won't risk conflict with the Morettis over him. Carlo approached, phone in hand. Boss, confirmation. Federal agents are executing search warrants at Reed Financial Group headquarters and Thomas Reed's residence. They found exactly what we planted. What you planted? Jade's eyes widened. Evidence of money laundering, fraud, and conspiracy. Dante's tone was matter of fact. All real, all actionable. I just helped investigators find it faster. That's justice, he interrupted. Thomas Reed has been breaking the law for years. Tonight, he finally pays for it. Jade should have been horrified. But she thought about the intruder in her building, the zip, ties, and sedatives. What would have happened if Dante's people hadn't caught him? Good, she said quietly. He deserves it. Dante's eyes softened. Let's get you upstairs. You've had enough excitement for one night. Back in Dante's penthouse, the adrenaline finally crashed. Jade sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Dante brought her water, then sat across from her, his expression carefully neutral. Thank you, Jade said, for letting me face him. I needed that. I know you did. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. That's the difference between control and protection, Jade. Control would have been keeping you locked in your apartment, never letting you near Marcus. Protection is giving you the tools and support to handle it yourself. Is that what you're doing? Protecting me? Among other things. Something flickered in his eyes. You've been here a week. In that time, you've faced your abuser, survived a kidnapping attempt, and watched me dismantle a criminal empire. Most people would be running for the door by now. Maybe I'm not most people. No. His voice was soft. You're not. The air between them shifted, charged with something neither of them had acknowledged until now. Jade was hyper-aware of every detail, the way Dante's shirt stretched across his shoulders, the intensity in his dark eyes, the careful distance he maintained. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why me? Really? Jade held his gaze. You could have refused to help at the club, could have sent me away with a warning, could have protected me from a distance without bringing me into your life. Why didn't you? Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because when you walked up to me, desperate and brave and terrified, you reminded me of myself. But more than that, you looked at me like I was a person, not a reputation. You asked for help, not because you knew who I was, but despite it. I didn't know. Exactly. He stood, moving to the windows. Everyone in my life wants something from me. Power, protection, money, connections. They see Dante Moretti, head of the Moretti family. They don't see me. He turned back. You just saw someone who looked dangerous enough to scare your ex. You treated me like a tool, not a king. It was refreshing. I used you. Yes. His smile was slight. And somehow that was more honest than anything I've experienced in years. Jade stood, crossing to where he stood. What about now? Am I still just someone you're protecting? No. The word was quiet but certain. Now you're someone I can't stop thinking about. Someone who makes me cook dinner and check my phone to make sure you're safe. Someone who's made this empty apartment feel less lonely. His jaw tightened. Someone who's become dangerous to me in ways I didn't anticipate. Dangerous how? Because I care what happens to you. Dante's voice was raw. In my world, caring about someone is a vulnerability, a weakness enemies exploit. But I can't seem to stop. Jade's heart was pounding. Then don't. Don't what? Don't stop caring. She stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat of him. Don't push me away because it's safer. Don't make decisions for me about what I can handle. Jade, I've spent 2 years with someone who controlled every aspect of my life because he claimed to care. You've spent a week proving you care by giving me choices. She looked up at him. So give me this choice too. Let me decide if you're worth the danger. And what do you decide? That I'm tired of being safe. The words came out breathless. I'm tired of living small and scared. You make me feel powerful, Dante. Seen. Like I matter. And maybe that's dangerous, but maybe I don't care anymore. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Dante's hand came up, cupping her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about him. You do matter, he said softly. More than you should. More than is wise. Is that a problem? It should be. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. But right now, I can't bring myself to care. When he kissed her, it was nothing like she'd imagined. Not demanding or controlling or rough. It was slow, careful, like he was giving her every chance to pull away, like he was savoring something precious. Jade melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, and kissed him back with everything she'd been holding inside for the past week. Fear and gratitude and desire and something deeper she wasn't ready to name. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. This complicates things, he murmured. Good. Jade smiled. I'm tired of simple. He laughed a real laugh, warm and surprised. You're going to be trouble, aren't you? Probably. She pulled back to look at him. Can you handle that? I've handled worse. But his eyes were soft, the dangerous edge replaced by something that looked almost like happiness. Stay tonight. Here. Not in your apartment here with me. It wasn't about sex, though. The desire was there, simmering beneath the surface. It was about proximity, comfort, the need to be close to someone who understood. Okay, Jade said. They fell asleep on Dante's couch, her head on his chest, his arm around her shoulders. The city lights provided a soft glow through the windows. For the first time since she could remember, Jade didn't dream about running, about being chased, about Marcus's face twisted with rage. She dreamed about safety, about home, about the steady beat of Dante's heart beneath her ear. 3 weeks later, Jade stood on Dante's rooftop garden, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The city sprawled below, endless and beautiful, and hers. So much had changed. Thomas Reed was in federal custody, awaiting trial on multiple charges. Marcus had left Chicago entirely. Rumors said Miami, others said overseas. The Donovan family had quietly severed ties with the Reeds. And Jade had moved officially into Dante's penthouse. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because waking up next to him felt right. There you are. Dante emerged from the stairwell, carrying 2 glasses of wine. Thought I'd find you here. It's peaceful. Jade accepted the glass. Hard to believe any of this is real sometimes. What part? The Mafia boss boyfriend or the luxury penthouse? The feeling safe part. She leaned against him. I keep waiting for it to disappear. Not happening. Dante's arm came around her waist. You're exactly the right amount of trouble. What about your world? Your enemies? Jade had learned more about the Moretti family in the past weeks, the territory they controlled, the businesses they ran, the delicate balance of power Dante maintained. Won't they see me as a weakness? They already tried. His jaw tightened. And learned what happens when they target what's mine. Word spreads quickly in our world, Jade. You're untouchable now. Because of you. Because of us. He turned her to face him. You're not just under my protection anymore. You're part of this family. My people respect you. Carlo adores you. Even Valentina smiles now. Do you know how rare that is? Jade laughed. She smiled once. That barely counts. It counts to me. Dante's expression grew serious. I know this isn't the life you imagined, that it comes with restrictions and dangers you never asked for. If you want out, if you want me to set you up somewhere safe, somewhere far from all this, I'll do it. No questions, no strings. Do you want me to leave? No. The word was immediate, fierce. But I want you to have the choice. Jade set down her wine glass and took both his hands. I choose this. I choose you. Not because I don't have options, but because this is what I want. You're what I want. Even with everything that comes with me? Especially with that. She smiled. You taught me to be brave, Dante. To stand up, think for myself. To stop accepting less than I deserve. And what I deserve is someone who treats me like an equal. Who values my strength. Who... He kissed her, cutting off the words. When they broke apart, both smiling, the sun had dipped below the horizon. The city lights were starting to flicker on, one by one, until Chicago glowed beneath them. I love you, Dante said quietly. I didn't think I was capable of it anymore, but you've proven me wrong about a lot of things. Jade's breath caught. I love you too. Even though you're dangerous and overprotective and definitely a terrible influence. Terrible influence? He pretended to be offended. I've taught you self-defense, cooking, and how to spot undercover security. Those are life skills. You've also taught me that sometimes the scariest person in the room is the safest bet. Jade pulled him closer. Thank you for that. Thank you for choosing me. His forehead touched hers. For seeing past the reputation to the person underneath. For making me want to be better. You don't need to be better. You need to be yourself. She paused. Though maybe slightly fewer federal investigations? I make no promises. But he was smiling. They stood there as darkness fell completely. The city, their backdrop, their future uncertain but full of possibility. Jade had walked into Eclipse nightclub 3 weeks ago looking for one moment of power over her abuser. She'd found something infinitely more valuable. A partner who matched her strength, challenged her growth, and proved that safety didn't mean weakness. It meant having someone strong enough to let you be strong too. Dance with me, Dante said suddenly. There's no music. There doesn't need to be. He pulled her close, and they swayed to a rhythm only they could hear. The same way they'd danced that first night, except this time there was no desperation, no fear. Just two people who'd found each other in the chaos and decided to stay. You know what's funny? Jade murmured against his chest. What? I asked you to dance so Marcus would get jealous. So he'd see me with someone powerful and leave me alone. She looked up at Dante. I never imagined I'd actually fall in love with you. Best worst decision you ever made? No. Jade smiled. Best decision I ever made. No qualification needed. As they danced on the rooftop, the city alive around them, Jade understood something fundamental. She'd spent years feeling powerless, controlled, small. She'd thought freedom meant being alone, being independent, needing no one. But real freedom was choosing who to stand beside. It was finding someone who made you stronger instead of weaker, who gave you wings instead of chains. She'd asked a dangerous stranger to dance. He'd said yes. And in doing so, they'd both found exactly what they'd been missing. Someone brave enough to choose them back. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.